There is one specific thing a woman does when she is completely, undeniably in love with you, and it has nothing to do with what she says out loud. It is not a text message. It is not a confession. It is not her telling her friends about you. It is something far quieter, something that happens in the space between her thumb and her screen, something so ordinary looking that 99% of men scroll right past it without realizing what they just witnessed. She shares something with you. That's it. That's the whole action on the surface. A video, a song, a meme, a random photo of a sunset. It looks like nothing. It looks like the kind of thing anyone sends anyone. But if you understand what is actually happening underneath that share, you will never look at your notifications the same way again. Because when a woman falls in love with you, really falls, not infatuation, not a crush, but something rooted and real, sharing becomes one of the clearest windows into her mind that you will ever get. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what kind of shares mean everything and which ones mean nothing at all. Before I show you the difference, you need to understand why sharing carries so much weight for a woman in the first place. Researchers who study digital communication have found something fascinating about how people process the urge to share something with another person. It is not random. It is not boredom. It is what psychologists call a bid for shared reality. That means when someone sends you a piece of content, whether it is a video or a quote or a photo, they are not just passing along information. They are testing something much deeper. They are asking, without asking, does this live inside your world the way it lives inside mine? Will you feel what I felt when I saw this? Will you understand me a little more because of it? For most people, this instinct is casual. You see something funny, you send it to a friend, you move on. But for a woman who has feelings for you, this same instinct becomes something entirely different. It becomes a quiet offering. She is not just sending content. She is sending a piece of her inner world and waiting, whether she admits it to herself or not, to see if you catch it. Here is where most men get it completely wrong. They think sharing is small. They think it does not matter because it is not a declaration. It is not a confession. It is not the big dramatic moment they are waiting for. So they respond with a laughing emoji or a one-word reply, and they move on with their day. And she notices. She always notices. Because in her mind, that share was never small to begin with. It was a test disguised as nothing. And the way you respond to it tells her more about your interest level than almost anything else you could say out loud. So let's break down what actually separates a meaningless share from one that means she is falling for you. The first thing you need to understand is timing. Women who are emotionally invested in a man do not share randomly throughout the day the way they might with a group chat full of friends. They share with intention, often at specific moments. Late at night when the world has gone quiet and her guard is lower than usual. Early in the morning, when you are one of the first thoughts she has after waking up. Right after something happens in her day, good or bad, when her instinct is to bring you into the moment before anyone else. If you start paying attention to when she sends you things, you will notice a pattern. It is not scattered. It is not random. It follows the rhythm of her emotional state, and that rhythm is telling you something she may never say directly. The second thing that matters is specificity. This is the part almost no one talks about, and it is the single biggest giveaway of all. A woman who is not particularly invested in you will share things that are broad, generic, things she would send to anyone. A viral video everyone has already seen. A meme making its rounds through every group chat in the country. That kind of share means very little because it required no thought, no searching, no real connection to you specifically. But a woman who is falling for you sends something completely different. She sends things that only make sense because of something you told her. A song from an artist you mentioned once, weeks ago, in passing. A joke that only lands because of an inside reference between the two of you. An article about a hobby you casually brought up during a conversation she clearly never forgot. This is not coincidence. This is her mind working in the background, cataloging pieces of you, holding on to details most people would have let slip away. When she sends you something specific like that, she is proving, without saying it directly, that she has been paying attention to you in a way she does not pay attention to everyone else. Dr. Arthur Aaron, a researcher whose work on interpersonal closeness has shaped decades of relationship psychology, found that one of the strongest predictors of emotional closeness between two people is what he called sustained, personalized attention, meaning the more someone tailors what they say and share to the specific person they are talking to, rather than generic content, the deeper the emotional bond tends to run. When a woman customizes what she sends you based on details only you would understand, she is engaging in exactly this kind of personalized attention, whether she consciously realizes it or not. It is her brain doing the work of connection before her heart has fully admitted what is happening. Now let's talk about the third signal, and this one is subtle enough that most men completely miss it. Pay attention to what happens after she shares something with you. Does she just send it and disappear, or does she linger? Does she ask what you thought? Does she bring it up again later, days after the fact, referencing it like it became a small shared memory between the two of you? This lingering is important because it reveals whether the share was meant to open a conversation or just fill a silence. A woman who does not care much either way will send something and move on without a second thought. But a woman who is emotionally invested wants to know that the thing she sent actually landed. She wants confirmation that you received not just the content, but the intention behind it. If she checks back, if she references it later, if she seems slightly anxious or eager about whether you watched it or listened to it, that is not casual behavior. That is a woman who cared about your reaction because your reaction matters to her emotionally, not just socially. There is a psychological reason this happens, and it comes back to something researchers call emotional contagion. The tendency for people to want to transfer their own emotional state onto someone they feel close to. When a woman finds something that makes her laugh, or something that moves her, or something that reminds her of a feeling she cannot quite name, her brain immediately produces an urge to share that feeling with the person she is closest to emotionally in that moment. If that person is you, and this happens consistently, it means you have become her emotional reference point. You have become the person she wants to feel things with, not just the person she talks to. That distinction matters more than most men realize. Let me give you a real scenario to make this land. Picture two different women. The first woman sends you memes fairly often, the kind that are already floating around every platform, the kind with millions of views. It's light, it's easy, and honestly it does not tell you much of anything about how she feels. Now picture the second woman. She sends you a song at 11 at night with no caption, just the link. And weeks later, when that same song comes on somewhere, she brings it up again, almost shy about it, saying something like, "This made me think of that night we talked for 3 hours." That is not the same behavior. That is not the same energy. That second woman has folded a piece of shared experience into something ordinary, and she is quietly checking whether you remember it the way she does. That is what it looks like when sharing becomes emotional territory instead of casual habit. Here is something else worth understanding. When a woman shares something deeply personal, not just entertaining, but something that reveals a piece of who she is, a song that means something to her, a memory, a piece of writing, a photo she rarely shows anyone, she is doing something psychologists refer to as self-disclosure through proxy. Instead of directly telling you, "I feel this way," or "this matters to me," she lets the content say it for her. It is safer. It carries less risk of rejection than saying it outright. If you respond with genuine curiosity, if you ask questions about why it matters to her, you are giving her permission to open up even further. But if you respond with indifference, you are unknowingly closing a door she took a real risk to open. So now the obvious question becomes, how should you actually respond when you notice these signals? The answer is simpler than most men expect, but it requires actual presence, not a script. When she sends you something specific, something clearly chosen with you in mind, acknowledge the thought behind it, not just the content. Instead of a quick laughing reaction, say something like, "This is exactly something you would send me." Or ask her what made her think of you in that moment. That single question does something powerful. It shows her that you noticed the intention, not just the surface. It tells her the offering did not disappear into the void. It landed with someone who was actually paying attention. When she references something she shared days or weeks earlier, do not brush past it. That callback is her testing whether the moment mattered to you the way it mattered to her. Bring it up yourself sometimes before she has to. Mention the song. Mention the video. Let her know it stayed with you too. This is one of the fastest ways to build the kind of emotional closeness that turns a casual connection into something she genuinely cannot stop thinking about, because you are proving that her world and your world are beginning to overlap. And when it comes to timing, notice the late night shares, the early morning ones, the ones that arrive right after something happened in her day. These are not throwaway moments. These are windows into when you are on her mind, without her even trying to be on yours. Respond with warmth in those moments rather than distraction. A woman who reaches out during a quiet, emotional window and receives genuine presence in return will remember that far longer than any grand gesture you could plan later. Here is the deeper truth beneath all of this. Women rarely announce love the way movies have taught us to expect. There is no dramatic music, no single moment where everything becomes obvious. Instead, love reveals itself in these small, repeated gestures, in the things she thinks to send you before anyone else, in the way she holds onto details you mentioned once and never expected her to remember, in the quiet hope that the thing she shared actually mattered to you the way it mattered to her. If you have been overlooking these moments, treating them as filler instead of meaning, it does not mean you missed everything. It means now you know what to look for. So think back. Has someone been sending you things that only make sense because of you specifically? Has someone been checking, even quietly, even indirectly, whether you noticed? If the answer is yes, you already have more information than you think you do. You just have not been reading it the right way until now. If what you just heard made you think of someone specific, do not just scroll away. Drop the word shared in the comments below. I want to see how many of you actually caught the signal you have been missing this whole time, because the ones who comment are the ones who actually apply what they learn. And if this video opened your eyes even a little, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because next time I am breaking down another quiet signal women give off, one that is even easier to miss than this one. And once you see it, you will never overlook it again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Now go check your messages. You might already have your answer waiting there.